I think if you're going to be a standalone frontman, you have to have something or try to do something that's going to make you stand out, because you don't want to be like a dime a dozen dude.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, my name is Kyle Shaw, and I'm the frontman for Obscene. We are an American death metal band from Indiana.
And Kyle, when you say Obscene or death metal, what flavor of death metal would you say Obscene are?
That's a good question, because I've for all my years involved in this. There's like I feel like almost like 100 different subgenres of death metal, and I just realized that there's a term called disso death, and that's an actual thing. I mean, that's cool, but I like to kind of just say no modifier death metal. Like we get lumped in with the OSDM or old school death metal crowd, but I always and I guess that's where we fit. But I've always just hated the term old school death metal band, unless you are from like the late 80s and early 90s. It just to me, it's just all that means is that you're a death metal band that isn't brutal tech or slam, and that's just kind of what real death metal is. So it's just to me, it's just kind of a I don't know. I know I'm being really pedantic about it, but that's just kind of my take on it.
Yeah. No, I have similar feelings. You know, the joke I like to make is that I was listening to old school death metal back when it was called just death metal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Can you tell me a little bit about how Obscene came together?
hmm So started rehearsing around 2016, I want to say. And how that came about, I was just kind of bored. And my old band just kind of fell apart because our main songwriter moved across the country and it just kind of, and he didn't really write any more songs, and that was that. So I'm still just like, God damn it. Like, I don't like it ending this way. And I still feel like I have something to offer. And my old band was more of like a crusty death grind band. And I'm just like, I don't want to do like these. I don't want to say I don't want to do DIY stuff anymore because I'm still somewhat like I still have lifelong friends I've made involved with that, but I didn't really like. I've always been more of a metalhead than like a crossover kid, so I'm just like I just want to do just like a straight extreme metal band. I just kind of like put it out there in the ether on his Facebook, and then my buddy Brandon, who's been in multiple bands, like he's one of those guys that's great at everything. And he hit me up and he's like, well, hey, I'm trying to play drums. I still want to do death metal. I do because at the time he was doing vocals for a more technical death metal band called Son of the Destroyer. He's like, well, I really want to play drums and I want to just play like just straight up like Dismember, Autopsy, Asphyx, Voltor type stuff. Like, cool. That's kind of exactly what I'm looking for. And took a while to really get going. I think like we were known as Bloodchasm for a little less than a year. We had a number of lineup changes after the demo was recorded, but then it just kind of all came together. I'd say 2017. 2017 is when we released the demo, and then a few lineup changes later, we had the core that we've had for the past three records with Mike working guitars, Brendan on drums, myself on vocals, and Roy Hayes on bass.
And how did you meet Mike and Roy?
Oh, so Roy and I have been in bands forever. Like my first, I guess, realish band was a sludge doom band that he played bass in. He was also in Boddicker with me. Mike, I've known for years as well because Indianapolis is a very like insular bass scene where everyone kind of knows each other if you're involved with metal. And Mike also was in Son of the Destroyer with Brandon. And he'd been in black metal bands like Christ Beheaded. He had been in like a heavy metal tribute band called Iron Diamond, and you can guess what it's all about in the name. And he's like a total shredder as well. He loves real death metal, so it's just sort of like it was a match made in hell, and you haven't looked back.
What's the scene like in Indianapolis? Because a buddy of mine was from there.
Okay,
and he was the guy who got me into like Gorguts and stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
So I was always curious about what the scene was like out there.
So it's pretty much on the up and up now, but for a number of years it was kind of barren. We've always had good bands here, but a lot of them just never really did a whole lot, with a few notable exceptions, especially Gates of Slumber, probably our biggest export. If you're into traditional doom, I'd say they were probably the biggest. Demiricus was pretty big for a little bit. They were on Metal Blade. But yeah, once those two kind of stopped doing stuff, like things would just sort of ebb and flow. But like I think right now we're in a really good spot. Like there's us, there's Mother of Graves, there's Flusher's doing a lot of cool stuff. There's a new band, younger kids called Fuck Up Death, and it's just like slaughter necroporter worship. It's awesome. They're so good. I am blanking out on so many. There's Violent Equity from Columbus, Indiana, and it's just like Niflheim playing Unslaughter, if that makes sense.
I spoke with Wraith not that long ago. I don't know.
Oh yeah, race from Northwest Indiana. They're like basically outside of Gary, I think. I don't think they're like in Gary, but I think it's like a stone's throw away. Yeah, race rules. Good guys, good friends. Yeah, I'll also shout out the Working Corpses from Fort Wayne. They're fucking sick. That's also because they also dress up in like these like creature outfits, and it's just basically it sounds like old Misfits meets death metal with a little bit merciful fate thrown in there. It's and they're so good live too. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just drawing a blank because last interview I did, I name
No
dropped like
worries.
20 bands, and now I'm just like, God damn, what the fuck is going on? But that's a good thing though, right?
So it sounds like when you and Brandon decided to put this together,
Mhm.
you had a pretty clear idea of what you wanted to do, or at least what you didn't want to do.
Right, right. Yeah, because I basically like I mentioned I was just like it doesn't really need to be like strictly death metal, but I want to be like very like heavy metal based extreme metal, if that makes any sense. We could have just done like a straight up because I was just hungry and I'm the kind of rocker who likes many different subgenres. Although I will say traditional death metal is my favorite. But I was like, yeah, we could have done like a band, something like Bathory or something. And I would have been like, yeah, cool, let's do that. But I'm glad we landed where we landed.
I want to talk about your vocals for a little bit
Sure.
because you do have a very distinctive approach,
Hmm.
and I'm sure you get compared to some other people.
Hmm.
Do you get a lot of lockup or at the gates comparisons?
I do actually.
Yeah.
It's funny because I wasn't really that intentional, but I mean, like I'm good with it because I love. I mean, I love Red in the Sky is Ours. I love everything the At the Gates did up to and including Slaughter of the Soul. I tried getting into reunion records and this didn't really hit me, but especially stuff the shit he did with Grotesque, that shit rules so much. But yeah, I was really trying to go for like a Martin Van Drunen kind of John Tardy, Mark Grew.
Right. Okay.
So that's kind of what I was shooting for. Kind of hit it, but I also kind of went on something else that's my own. So guess you can call me the old dirty bastard of death metal, baby.
I mean, with the John Tardy kind of approach, do you have to technique wise? Do you have to do it in a different way than doing death grunts?
A little bit. I always just went for my diaphragm. I could do some death grunts, but I just I don't know, man. I mean I do them, but but I try to do it's kind of like what I was saying earlier. I'm just more interested in like the Van Joons, like the Taris, like the Limbers, like the Mark Roos, like the Killjoys, or even like a Scott Roos from Burping Corpse. Just for me, I've just been far more interested in those like real pained, disemboweled sounding vocals, or just sound torturous instead of just like the ooga booga. Which no hate, no disrespect. I love plenty of shit that sounds like that, but I've always just sort of gravitated more towards. I mean, something to me feels more of like an outlier.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to be a standalone frontman, you have to have something or try to do something that's going to make you stand out because you don't want to be like a dime a dozen dude. Or I mean, you can, and that's fine, but like, it just doesn't really interest me that much.
Yeah. I mean, the vocals do sound literally painful. Do you have to warm up ahead of time before you guys play shows or anything like that?
Kind of. I mean, like, what I like to do, I have a routine. I just drink hot tea with honey. Do it all the time. You got to do it. I feel. I mean, there's a. I had gone a long time without doing it, and I don't know how the fuck I was making it happen. I do that. Have a few drinks. Don't want to get. I mean, don't want to get loaded or anything stupid like that. But like, I do try to have like a few shots of whiskey just to kind of loosen not just like my throat, my diaphragm, but also just to like because I'm kind of like an uptight dude normally, but like the way I approach how we perform, like I have to be loose. I have to be a maniac. So I can't just like oh shit man. I got you got to be a commanding front man. And I want to put on a show, and you can't really do that if you're just standing there with your dick in your hand like some asshole.
You can't be Kyle from accounting on stage.
Cannot. Right now.
You have to get into character.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You have to. Like, I think you have to. I hate seeing a band that's like fake humility or like a very like cavalier approach to performing aggressive music. It just the cognitive dissonance just drives me insane.
So when you guys sit down to write songs, how does it usually happen?
Usually, Mike will have a few riffs either already planned out, or sometimes we'll just kind of Brandon will just go with a drum beat that he thought of either on the fly or something he was fucking with earlier, and we just kind of get some parts locked down, figure out where we want to take it with the song. How I write lyrics, I sometimes either have intent already written in the bag, or I just write them like as I feel the song's progressing. I prefer to just have a bunch of lyrics written and just try to piece them together. And I always try to like send guys like my song title ideas, lyrics I'm working on, and see if they feel any sort of way about anything, and we go from there.
Is a lot of the arranging done by Mike by himself, or do you guys piece stuff together in the rehearsal room?
It used to be more pieced up together in a rehearsal room, but it's been more 50-50 lately.
Does Mike send you guys pre-pro demos with like scratch drums and stuff like that?
Every once in a while, but generally like if he has like a cool riff idea, if he's just like hanging out in his house, just chilling, playing guitar, he'll just send him some cool riffs that he thought up, and we usually just, I don't think we've ever ixnayed anything he sent us. So it's always like, yeah, that sounds sick. Let's work on, let's figure this out.
You guys had an idea in mind of what you wanted Obscene to be when you first got together. Has that idea changed over the years?
It's a good question. I don't really think so. I think we're always going to be, as I alluded to earlier, a no modifier death metal band. But that doesn't mean we don't use other elements to broaden our scope and make things more intriguing or interesting. without losing the plot. Like, I mentioned how there's like, oh yeah, we're an atmospheric death metal band. Oh, we're a melodic death metal band. Oh, we're technical death. It's like we're death and thrash or whatever the fuck. It's just like, okay, we can have all these elements at our disposal, but as long as we don't lose the plot, I think we're good.
Right. So just to clarify what you're saying, you don't use modifiers to describe your music, but that doesn't mean that your music can't
No,
be melodic or
of course not.
technical or yeah.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, that was I was kind of word vomit in there, but yeah, that you tied the room together very well.
I'm like a rug that way.
Yeah.
So at the time we're having this conversation, you will be releasing a new album at the end of the week called Agony Wounds,
Hmm.
which will be coming out through Nameless Grave Records. When did you guys start working on the album?
Oof. I want. That's a good question. Kind of like almost after the last one was released. I want to say because when the last one was released, we were on tour with More to Scold, and I think we had a few skeletons ideas for songs, and it was just sort of just like we didn't really have like a set plan to like get things in motion. They just sort of happened organically, like because how this band has worked is like we'll go out for a little bit for usually like 10 days or so. We try not to do anything longer than that, and we won't do shit for about a month, and then all of a sudden we'll get together and hey, got some new ideas, Okay, let's work on it, and we just sort of take our like. It doesn't sound like we take our time, but we actually do. It's sometimes things start progressing very, very quickly, and that's just like, all right, well, let's just keep it moving.
How would you compare this album to the previous two?
I would say it's definitely our lengthiest by far. I would say it's our densest and also most challenging as far as musicianship, because I feel like we all of us really pushed ourselves on as much as we could on this one, and it wasn't really like we have to do it this way. It was just sort of it's just how these songs unfolded, and it just duty called.
Is it important for you that with every album that you're a little bit better at what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, as a fan, I always sort of gravitate to the first few records a band releases. Sometimes, I mean, and that's not all the time, and I don't know what lies ahead of us for sure. I mean, I know like we have the record coming out. We're gonna do a TBA tour in December, and I know there's songs on the docket. But I mean, like tomorrow's not guaranteed. But I feel like we put our best foot forward with this one, and I feel like it's the most complete Obscene has ever sounded. And who knows what's going to lie ahead of us. But yeah, I think you should always want to be you always want to be better tomorrow as you were the day before in anything you do, in my opinion. I know it's kind of a stock answer, but that's how I see it.
Where did you guys end up recording the album?
We went to Mercenary Studios in Avon, Ohio, and that's where we recorded the previous one as well. And we had a great experience with Noah. That man, the wizard behind the console. Highly recommend him. We'll probably go back to him again.
And Noah Buchanan recorded the previous album as well, right?
Correct.
How would you describe his approach as an engineer?
He's very direct, but it's in a way that is always respectful. And he has a good idea. He has a good ear, and he mixes while he records, which is insane to me. But yeah, he's very, very laid back. I mean, he wants you to put your best foot forward. But yeah, it's just because he was the kind of a dude that like we had met prior, didn't really know him that well, but we thought we would take a chance, and then he became a friend. So it's just it's almost like just another one of our homies just hanging out, except that he's working. I guess that's the best way I can describe it.
What do you want Noah to bring out of your sound? Or what did you want him to bring to the sound of this album?
Oof. So we initially had went with him on the last one. Part of the reason why, this isn't the only reason why, I feel like this has been misconstrued at times, is his studio has the old like Morrisound console, the old mixer. And when I brought this attention to the guys, I was like, man, like I really like the last one, Carl. who recorded the first one, and I did a bang up job with it. But I'm just like, why don't we take a chance on upside, especially like if this is kind of what we're going for anyways. And like this guy's resume speaks for itself because he's done a lot of really good records, especially from that Cleveland area. Let's let's just give it a shot, see how it goes. If it sucks, we'll just take the L and go back to Carl. And but like, yeah, I mean, the guy like kind of figured out exactly what we wanted to do and was able to. I mean, I feel that I've heard people say that like the last one was a little too polished, but I don't really agree with that take necessarily. I just think like we just sort of evolved musically, but I don't think that's like a more polished approach. So it's not like now we sound like soil work,
Right.
you know. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess we just wanted a bigger and fuller sound that was more in tune with early '90s Florida death metal, and he more than delivered on that promise. And I think the new one sounds even beefier and punchier than the last one. So yeah, I don't know if that really answers your question necessarily because that did stump me for a bit, but that's what I got.
It does. I mean, in listening to the album, it does. I wasn't really thinking of the More Sound, any specific More Sound album, but it does have kind of a dry, punchy sound
Yeah,
that I think about when I think about a lot of the albums from that era.
yeah,
It is very
yeah.
compact. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. And that's the vibe we're going for.
Do you want to say anything about the gentleman who mastered the album and how he got involved?
Oh, Dan Landis, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, we've always had a different guy master our records. The first one we used Damien Herring from Horrendous. His thing's called Subterranean Watchtower, I believe. And he did a bad job with that. He's always been good with everything he does. Second one, we went with Dan Swano. This one we went with Dan Loundis. And I can't really remember why we went with Dan, other than like just having a great resume. Another guy who's more more or less like he speaks. His resume speaks for itself. What I'm saying between like the bands he's recorded for everything from like Witch Vomit to Mortiferum, which again, not necessarily trying to go for that, but I do like the way his record sound and like what he's done with Christian Metal. And so I was just like, yeah, let's roll dice with him, and he was awesome to work with.
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing about the three names that you mentioned, they're not just known for their work as engineers and for mastering, but also for the as musicians,
Yes,
for being involved
absolutely.
in this type of music. Is that important to you? Do you want somebody who's got a lot of experience making this music? As
Absolutely. This has actually come up a few times, and I was a little less diplomatic about it. What I'm going to say, I've talked with some friends who will go with some guys in town who aren't good at what they do, but I don't think they have a very clear understanding of like what we in particular would go for, and maybe not necessarily their bands. And like, I don't think the records sound bad at all. It just for me, it would just drive me nuts because because I like to reference a lot of things like of what I'm trying to do, and I'm not trying to be like I'm not trying to out cult anyone here, but like, if I mention something like, hey, like kind of like a Last One on Earth vibe or something like that, just which I think is a pretty renowned album, and a guy looks at me like I'm speaking Japanese, and I'm just like, I don't know if I can deal with you, man. Like we can be buds, but I don't want you touching my record. you know? But yeah, so yeah, I'm glad you asked that because I have had this talk before. I brought this up, and then people just kind of like look at me like I'm being a prick, and I'm like, I'm not trying to be. It's just like to be. I don't know. I've had bad experiences in the past, not necessarily with recording, but just in general, like people who don't really care about metal. I want to dip their toes in it, and I'm just like, well, this isn't for you. Like you're not. I mean, I understand like sometimes there's a financial gain, but it's not that much. So like what do you I just side eye people who do this, and I know it's more of a me problem, but I've also my 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 bullshit meter is pretty good, and I've seen people who do this before. Like I'm talking mostly about show promoters in town who will come around. I think they know what they're doing. They don't, and shows flop, and then they just kind of fuck over venues and bands, and then that's that. And just like, why deal with this Buster? And I know, and I know this is completely like this is a total apples and oranges conversation when it comes to engineering and just randos getting into metal booking, but that's just kind of how I have such a stain in my soul with dealing with these doofuses that I just cannot abide.
feel like there is a culture to having grown up in the underground,
Mhm.
or like an understanding of what this music is supposed to be, or what the culture is that you only get if you
Yes,
grew up in the
yes,
underground.
yes.
And I've had similar frustrations, with people who like they're kind of came to this music, whether it's death metal or black metal or grindcore, like aliens landing from
Mhm.
another planet. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah,
their understanding of heavy metal was like some kind of like '90s MTV metal,
sure,
and
sure.
trying to explain to them that no, this is what this is supposed to sound like.
Right, 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 right.
It is supposed to sound like you're gargling glass.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're not going up in Never Never Land, my friend.
Right. And I mean, if you reference an old '90s death metal album, I'm pretty sure the guy from Cruciamentum will know it intimately, right?
Yes, yes. He actually asked me for a reference. I gave him like a dozen or so records. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but some I mentioned were like Last One on Earth, Been Caught Buttering from Bunch of Stench, Deceased, Fearless Undead Machines, Diabolical Summoning from Sinister, Falls from Gorefest. That's off the top of my head. I referenced a few more. I probably doing like Continuing Impulse or something, but yeah, I'm just like, yeah, like, that's metal.
Yeah.
He understood. Did a great job.
Those are some very Eurocentric albums, though. Gorefest, Sinister, Punch Stench.
That that yeah, I didn't really mean to go that route, but that's kind of how it went. I guess I've just always liked how those. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. I know I mentioned like Morrison. I'm always not like a lot of those records, obviously, like who doesn't. But I mean, I think just like, especially like the Dutch and that early Dutch scene was just insane to me, and it rarely gets talked about outside of like Pestilence and aspects. But like, yeah, and Gorefest and Mister. I just recently got in, and I feel like I'm a poser saying this, but I just recently got into Thanatos, which is hilarious because I got into Hail of Bullets before I really got into Pestilence, and I just recently got into Thanatos, which is like the same guitar player who was in Hail of Bullets. I think it's the same guitar player. I knew there was like a reference at some point. I believe it's the same guitar, so could be wrong.
At the time we're having this conversation, the album will be released very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have any plans as far as festivals or tours? You did mention something coming up in December.
Right. Yeah, we're just doing it's like a week long tour in December with another band. I'm just not really at liberty to say right now, but it'll be cool. It's gonna be in the Midwest. I think maybe like this other band who we're going out with, they're doing like a 2.5 week tour, and we're just not in a position to really go out for 2.5 weeks, but we're doing about half of it. And yeah, especially mostly the Midwest. So I didn't really mention this. Our drummer just recently became a dad. So let's kind of put touring. We wanted to tour right when the record came out, but it just wasn't possible. So he just became a dad like a month ago. So, but
Mazel tov.
yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah, and he'll be here. He's gonna be here, dad. But yeah, so but we are playing our album release show this Thursday with Team Mold and Horrendous in Indy. And we already got LPs on hand for that. I just got shirts in the mail. I should be getting CDs and tapes relatively soon. I'm hoping to at least I'd like to have everything by Thursday, but if not, I think I have enough to where we'll be happy. Yeah, so we're just going to do that show. Then we're going to kind of fuck off for a number of months so Brandon can be the best dad that he can, and then get back to grinding. So yeah, the plan is to do. I mean, if any of us come up our way between now and December, definitely interested. So if you know anybody, holler, holler, holler. But yeah, so like I said, tour in December, and we'll probably try to do another, short run of dates. I'm thinking probably spring next year. Where, with who, I don't know.
So, by the time people hear this episode or watch it on YouTube, Agony and Wounds will be out through Nameless Grave Records. Kyle, please tell everyone how they can order the album.
Sure thing. You can go to obscenedeathmetal.bandcamp.com, and we have CDs, LPs, tapes, and digital. You can buy CDs and LPs at namelessgraverecords.com and tapes at desertwastelandsproductions.com. We do have shirts. It's funny, right before I started this meeting, I've been wrapping up shirts I just got in the mail. We'll have shirts. They'll be shipping out as soon as I can. What else I got? Oh, social media. Gotta have it, right? Facebook.com/obscene DM. And on Instagram, it's obscene death metal _official. And that's all we got for social media. Not on TikTok. I'm not a 12-year-old girl.
Not with that attitude.
Not with that.
So you said something about the vinyl coming in.
Yep.
Can you tell me a little bit about the vinyl that was created for this album?
Yeah, sure thing. I mean, bringing that Nameless Grave is sort of the key master behind that. But yeah, so yeah, I really don't want to say it. We got gold, violet, opaque. They sound amazing, look amazing. It's gatefold, which is so sick. Because the last record was supposed to be gatefold, but something got lots of translation with Blood Harvest. I don't know what the hell happened. But this one is totally gatefold. Brad Moore, he truly is an art wizard. He knocked it out of the park with this painting of his. And yeah, I mean, not trying to be Mr. Salesman here, but you know what? I gotta say, even if I didn't even like our band, even if I did some rando in the street, I'd be like, you know what? That is a slick fucking record. And that's all I really got. I wish I could tell you more about like the process of making vinyl, but I don't know shit about that. I'm just I know how to howl in a microphone booth. I can write some lyrics, but that's about my. I can get people set up to make a record sounds cool, but that's about as far as as it goes when it comes to me making records.
So this episode will be coming out a bit after our conversation,
mm-hmm.
But the two variants that Nameless Grave created for the vinyl, the violet and the gold, are they still available?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Come one, come all.
And they're also available through the Bandcamp page and through the Nameless Grave web shop, right?
Correct.
And all your merch goes through Bandcamp?
Yes. I've thought about opening an actual web store, but it just hasn't come to fruition yet. And honestly, that I kind of like just selling stuff through Bandcamp. And we ship worldwide.
Is there anything else you want to say?
No, keep it obscene.
Very cool. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.